Hi everybody and welcome to this time lapse. We've got these daffodils. I set this up just on my dining room table. I had a bunch of daffodils and this green jug and I was like, oh, I want to make a painting. So that's exactly what I did, and I went with pastel matte paper. It's roughly A4 size, so it's really quite small. The jug isn't a large jug; it's quite a small jug, so the flowers, do look rather large. But I just decided to go with it anyway. So, as always, got my reference photo taped up to the left of me, and I've gone for a dark background. I kind of wanted to keep it um, as traditional, old style, old fashioned, dark backgrounds. Um, yeah. So anyway, that's what I did. I've actually got another daffodil painting on the easel where I've gone for a light background just to compare the difference and just have a little bit of fun. Spring here in the UK, so I'm absolutely loving pasteling flowers. Oh, I can't really talk today. Sorry about that. Anyway, as always, using a mixture of pastels. I've got me pastel pencils, pastel sticks, and across all brands: Sennelier, Unison, Schmincke, Mount Vision, Art Spectrum, you name it. I've got a whole mixture. Now, overall, yellows, the value of yellow is light. So I was finding when I was almost complete the daffodils, everything was looking quite light, even though I do have quite a range of tonal value in there. I find I didn't, my darks weren't dark enough. So I actually had to go back in and darken. Sometimes yellow can be a little bit tricky because, as I said, they tend to be lighter values. Um, the first part of this, my camera sometimes, depending on the light, goes all wonky. This is more the true color of my painting. This is more the colors, what it looks like in real life. So also on the table, my good old fashioned little bit of light spotlighting the table is just the kind of paintings that I enjoy. So I'm doing that for this one. Very simple background. I also didn't want anything to distract from the vase and the flowers, so keeping a nice simple background will help with that. So a mixture of greens here. We're using minty greens all the way through, blue base greens right through to yellow base greens. I'm using turquoise, and mixing all of those colors together and creating the smooth surface really works, and you get all those nuances of color within the jug. One of my favorite shadow colors to use, and I use in nearly every single painting, is Unison's Grey 13. It's a very dark brown. It's almost like a blacky brown, and I use that for the shadows. Um, Also using my pastel pencils, they're great to manipulate the pastel themselves into where you want the pastel, because obviously on the pastel sticks you're working with quite a fat circumference, where the pastel pencils are much smaller circumference. So you can really maneuver the pastel pigment and get it exactly where you want it. Often I will also use tortillons or paper stumps to clean up any edges or get into little areas of the painting that are hard to get into with my finger. You can see I use my fingers all the time in my pastel work. I'm constantly touching and smoothing with my hands. I like the smooth look that you can get with pastel rather than every single pastel mark being left as is. That's just not really the look I like. Not at this stage, not to say nothing can change in the future, but for me, and since I've been pasteling, I like the soft look. So I use my hands mainly to achieve that. So also lots of negative painting. So using the colors of the background to cut into the flowers. Rather than me trying to change the shape of the flower, it's often quite easier to come in with the background color. Same thing for like the handle of the jug, for example. So here you can see me brightening and darkening, trying to bring out these daffodils so they look a little bit more alive, a little bit more 3D. And how do I do that? I remember that I've got to go dark enough. It's really important. Like I said, a bit tricky when it comes to yellow, but here you can see I'm darkening down with like a very grayish blue green. And here lightning again. I mean, I couldn't even tell you the names of all these pastels. I use so many. I know lots of pastel artists will pull out, 20 pastels and then just use those. I'm not that artist. I go by how I feel. If I lay down a color and I'm like, ooh, I need something darker, I'll run and fetch another color. Or I need something more yellow, or I need something with more of a spring green. Like, so by the end of a painting, I'm sitting with a pile of pastels, sometimes 60 pastel colors. That's just the way I create. That's just how I do it. So when it comes to telling everyone exactly what pastel I'm using, unless it's the ones I use all the time, like this dark green I used for the stems is 179 by Sennelier. I use that also, I think, every single time I'm doing foliage or greenery of plants. It's just the standard. But I've got so many pastels, I definitely don't know all the names and numbers. And it becomes quite tricky when I'm using so many in one piece. But if you do like this and you want to check it out, you can see it on Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description below where this will be uploaded, and it will be in real time. So me talking you through what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So this little guy, I changed his position. In the reference photograph, he's a little bit closer. He's a little bit further away from the vase, but I wanted to bring him a little bit closer, and a lot of light is falling on him, and I wanted to soften that because he was so bright that your eyes were just drawn to this. So I needed to darken him down because I didn't want that to be the focal point. I want the focal point to be the daffodils in the vase. But this is coming to an end now. I hope you have enjoyed this quick time lapse, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.